All right. Finished book number 2 of my Read What You Own challenge is this literary masterpiece. Hello, friends and enemies. Welcome to Horror and Inconvenience, where things are usually spooky and always weird. So, again, I didn't expect to make progress on this challenge this quickly, but I just kept picking up things that really grabbed my interest for one reason or another today. So I just actually impulse bought this book in my last hurrah of book shopping before I officially started the challenge. It's kind of a chunker, but it's manga, so it was still a pretty fast and light read. And I really was surprised by the ways in which I enjoyed it. It's called The Whole of Humanity Is Gone, Yuri, Except for Me, which is a terrible title. There have been a lot of good jokes on the internet lately about how manga and light novels have been getting increasingly weird and long and specific titles. It's not a trend I love, but the book's actually a pretty interesting story, which is not what I expected out of something like this. Um, you know, I mostly expected vibes. That's what you usually get with something like this, vibes. But it's actually it's actually got a really strong story. So it's about a high school girl who suddenly wakes up one day in a parallel world where all of the men died off in the 1920s. Scientists figured out parthenogenic reproduction, and so there is now a thriving world that only has women in it. Yes, this book is guilty of a lot of gender essentialism, as a lot of those gender plague books you run into are. It's one of the reasons I loved Gretchen Felker Martin's Manhunt so much, is because it's a queer and gender inclusive take on the whole gender plague concept that's it's been around for over 100 years, but it's been particularly popular in science fiction and dystopian ever since the 70s. Um, yeah, this this book takes absolutely no time to examine gender or the broad social implications of a world that previously did include, you know, two sexes and the patriarchy, and has since adjusted to a matriarchy of necessity. No, this book has absolutely no interest in those social implications, which is why I think it was a little easier for me to look past the gender essentialism than I normally would. This book is all about the fact that if there are only women, then you have no excuse not to date women. You have to come out. You can't be closeted if only women are there to date. It's like it's like a long joke and you're waiting for the punchline at the end, which is the two of them getting together, which does happen. It's Yuri. Um, so she wakes up in this world and she's like, what's going on? I just wanted to be normal and get married and live and die. I had a boyfriend. What's happening? And this really hot, like untouchable, popular girl, um, like fixates on her instantly, and she ends up confessing to her that she's from another world. And the girl's like, "Okay, yeah, sure, I'll help you get back to your world, but you have to date me." And yeah, so you think from this like setup that you know where this is going. No, the latter half of this book is like a sci-fi thriller, where they follow clues to find out how she ended up in this world. It turns out she switched places with her alternate universe self, and there's this whole like history of like mid-century scientific experimentation behind it, kind of in the almost the Godzilla tradition, except in this case, it's set within a romantic comedy sci-fi, not horror sci-fi. Um, it is absolutely wild. I was constantly thrown for a loop. I did not expect this many twists and turns. Honestly, if you can look past some maybe slightly problematic manga romance tropes, and if you enjoy a certain level of cheese, I think this is a really fun ride. I expected to enjoy it for myself, but I didn't expect to be recommending it. But I am. I'm recommending this. This. Life is weird. So anyway, I finished this book in basically one sitting. So that's book two of my Read What You Own challenge. Only 23 left to go.